think you funny, huh?
You laugh on this now.
PS2 3D beat-em-up game Urban Reign Explored. In the 3D beat-em-up genre, there are a slew of notable weapon-based combat games, but aside from Hand of God, most hand-to-hand combat games are mostly overlooked. It's strange how hand-to-hand beat-em-ups were so popular in the 90s, with games like Streets of Rage and Final Fight, but people lost interest when they turned to 3D for some reason. Urban Reign boasts the best hand-to-hand fighting you'll ever see in a 3D beat-em-up, and yes, it even outperforms God Hand in this regard. However, unlike God Hand, which has a devoted cult following, Urban Reign is mostly overlooked. Maybe it's because the plot of Urban Reign is so forgettable, because there are few cutscenes, only a voiceover before each battle to explain the setting. But who cares? The action is the main thing, right? The multiplayer aspect of the game is really powerful. Power Stone, Total 2, and Ehrgeiz impacted the fighting engine. Two unlockable characters from the Tekken series, Paul Phoenix and Martial Law, are also included in the game. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Oh, you son of a... You dead now! Yeah. Come on. You want some of this? Come on.
A hardcore beat-em-up experience. The game gets off to a rather simple start. You play as Brad Hawk, a freelance fighter, just recruited by the alluring Shun Ying Li, the Chinatown's triad boss. Because a gang war has erupted between Shun Ying's squad and other competing factions, you'll be spending your time in Urban Reign's narrative mode slamming various gang members. The game's first few missions fly by as you learn about various parts of the battle system. You'll gain skill points for each mission that you can spend to increase your character's numerous skills, such as toughness, striking, grappling, and more, and you may fine-tune your character to fit your own style. The game's fighting engine is rather impressive. Strikes and grapples are your two basic attacks. You may start a combination by pressing the strike button, and you can use the grapple button to toss or bind your opponent while you beat him up. You can target one of three sections of an attacker with your attacks and grapples: the head, upper body, or lower body. If you repeatedly do damage to one place, the adversary will receive additional damage and will be able to be dispatched more swiftly. You can also sprint and lunge at enemies, run up walls and jump off them, and pick up weapons. On the ground, enemies can be jumped on and struck in the face, or simply kicked. You can also perform special arts techniques to hit numerous adversaries or break out from combinations and disorientation. These special arts skills deplete your special arts meters, which you must replenish by striking or absorbing damage from your opponents. Allowing you to evade blows and reverse out of grapples adds a lot of intricacy to the game. You may just push the dodge button to skillfully evade your opponent's strikes if they try to hit you. If you dodge a few in a sequence, your character will automatically grasp and shove your opponents aside, giving you a temporary initiative advantage. If you find yourself in a grip, attempt to figure out what kind of grasp it is and reverse out of it to counterattack. The substitution of a block action with a dodge in Urban Reign sets it apart from the previous beat-em-ups. Attacks by opponents are neutralized with a single button push that must be timed to coincide with the attack. In addition, if the player punches up or down on the keyboard at the same time as hitting dodge, his character will, if feasible, reverse an attack. It is possible to evade all impending regular attacks even when trapped by many adversaries. Dodging and reversing out of opponent assaults is incredibly satisfying and rewarding once you figure out how to do it. As a result of all of these possibilities, the conflicts get more varied and thrilling as you learn to play. The various strikes have a variety of animations, so after you've gotten used to them, the battles can be rather enjoyable to watch, somewhat like a choreographed martial arts film. Unlike Double Dragon, two players cannot play through the single-player missions together at first, but once unlocked, the game offers a variety of multiplayer options, including 4-person brawls with a PlayStation 2 multi-tap, and additional controllers. The single-player missions may be played with a second human player by entering a code. However, the camera will only follow the person who is using the Player 1 controller. The game uses a panning camera and other multiplayer modes to keep all players on the display at all times. While still playable, some of the distances required to maintain all characters on screen might make it difficult to discern what is going on. There is not much to say about the story. The narrative recounts the escapades of brawler-for-hire Brad Hawk, who is paid to retrieve a kidnapped gang member by the scantily dressed swordswoman Shun Ying Li. Brad battles the street gangs of Green Harbor, a walled metropolis in the United States. As he does so in order to acquire some answers, the character's actual intentions become clear, and things grow more convoluted. Apart from this, there is not much information to share, and I don't want to spoil it for you. The game's difficulty is attributable to the fact that the player may replay a mission after being beaten, like in many other beat-em-ups. Even the most experienced player will have to redo a number of missions. Throughout the game's latter objectives, you'll frequently find yourself in apparently impossible battles against a slew of powerful foes. Furthermore, certain boss fights from prior levels may return with a companion to give you a hard time. Some missions allow you to bring in a buddy, while others do not. Every task may be resumed at any moment, including after a failure, so the game never seems excessively harsh or time-consuming. There are no moments in this game when you aren't battling people, since there is little emphasis on exploring, and the plot is only a quick narration before each mission, so you won't pay attention to it. This somehow makes the game feel even more exciting, since there's never a moment when you're not doing anything, and you're eager to get back into the action after each fight. Urban Reign's pace is so terrific that you won't be able to put it down. The character models and settings are precisely what you'd expect from a 2005 release in terms of visual appeal. They appear to be sufficiently detailed for the period, although they do not jump out as particularly noteworthy. The animations are by far the most impressive aspect of the game's aesthetics. Many of the game's assaults have a cinematic quality to them, making you feel as though you're in the middle of a scene from an action film. In a 3D beat-em-up, it's difficult to find hand-to-hand fighting as detailed as this. Hardcore is the best way to define the music track. It's mostly thrash metal. It's so well suited to the game's theme that you won't be able to imagine it having a different soundtrack. It certainly succeeds in keeping participants engrossed in the action. While the soundtrack may not be something you'll listen to outside the game, it does a terrific job of getting you hyped for the action. Urban Reign appears to be the action game that Namco dreamed Death by Degrees would be if it had been allowed a little more time in the oven. And while it doesn't use the same analog-based combat tactics as Nina's 2004 Trip, it does strive to replicate standard fighting game elements across its 100 stages. The game was developed and published by a Japanese multinational video game and entertainment company, Namco Limited. Ridge Racer and Tekken were the few popular games from the lot for Namco in the 90s. The faltering Japanese economy and shrinking arcade business caused Namco a slew of financial problems in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Namco and Bandai united to establish Namco Bandai Holdings, a Japanese entertainment company, in 2005. It continued to make games until 2006, when it was absorbed into Namco Bandai Games. Pac-Man, Galaxian, and Tekken are just a few of Namco's multi-million selling gaming brands. It owned and operated video arcades and amusement parks all over the world, as well as producing films, toys, and arcade cabinets, and running a restaurant chain. In retrospect, Namco is renowned for its distinctive business model, industrial relevance, and technological breakthroughs. The Namco brand is still used by its successor, Bandai Namco Entertainment, and its subsidiaries for video arcades and other entertainment items. items. If you enjoy any type of action game, Urban Reign will be your new favorite. It is without a doubt the most authentic beat-em-up experience available, as it is all about pure battle. If you like old wrestling games, the control mechanism and movesets in Urban Reign will make you feel right at home. It's a game for those who want to get right to the action, since it eliminates all of the fluff seen in other games in the genre, for better or worse, enabling the game to focus just on the battle. As a result, many people will relate this game to fighting games, and they aren't incorrect, because the game was developed by the same guys that worked on the Tekken and Soul Calibur titles. Unlike those games and other fighting games, however, Urban Reign does not rely on adding needless input complexity to artificially increase the game's difficulty, effectively making it the greatest fighting game ever created, and remaining so as long as game developers continue to make fighting games needlessly complicated. The presentation of Urban Reign is excellent. Aside from the smooth and diverse animation we mentioned before, the characters themselves have a nice degree of depth, and the levels provide a good bit of involvement. As you hurl bodies on chairs and other pieces of furniture, they break. As you smack people's faces into shelves, they shed boxes and other stuff. As your conflicts progress, you'll see those other items, such as vehicles and pinball machines, crack and shatter. There are a lot of cutscenes at the start of the game to establish the scene, but they aren't especially good, and their frequency decreases as you get further into story mode. The presentation of Urban Reign is excellent. Aside from the smooth and diverse animation we mentioned before, the characters truly have a nice degree of depth, and the levels provide a good bit of involvement. That's it for this one, guys. Comment what other games you want us to review, and if you like this video, then please do like and share. See you in the next one.